Good morning here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, viewers and listeners all over the world. We appreciate you being here inside of the Heritage Hill studios. We are here with you, of course, Heritage Hill in Pompey in the rolling hills of central and upstate New York. You'll find the Heritage Hill Brew House on Sweet Road in Pompey, and you'll also find the new Heritage Hill North in North Syracuse on Sweetheart Corner, and you'll find that on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. So we appreciate everybody going out there and supporting our exclusive studio partner of Heritage Hill. We have an incredible show set up for you today, and as we made history almost 3 full years ago with LeMoyne College, signing them on as our first ever and their first ever exclusive multimedia marketing partner, we are now going to make history again with LeMoyne, giving you a dolphin dive unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', I'll be joined by LeMoyne men's and women's swimming and diving head coach Adam Zakowski, and we will also be joined by Arizona Selection Officer of the Marine Corps, Captain Juarez, will be joining us from the great state of Arizona to speak on how LeMoyne connected to the Marine Corps in recent history here. Very excited about sharing that with you. And of course, that's why the SEAL is here. And in hour number 2, we will be discussing the WNBA, Caitlin Clark's debut in the games that count in the regular season here. And we'll get into the NFL, which just released their international schedule. And my Jaguars are spending a home and a road game once again overseas. So, with that being said, we proudly welcome in to this edition of the Dolphin Dive, and it is my honor and my privilege here for the first time ever to welcome the U.S. Marine Corps as we have Arizona Selection Officer Captain Juarez with us, and of course Adam Zakowski. Captain Juarez, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Adam, how are things?
Dan, things are really well right now. Campus is getting a little quiet. We're getting ready for graduation. We're letting go of our seniors, and in about 90 short days, we'll be welcoming our incoming freshman class of 24-25. So things are going along well.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about the conversation that we're going to get to have here today. And Captain Juarez, Adam gave me some background on what this truly was, but I would love to get your thoughts on it and the importance of bringing in a coach and having them go through this process and what that can do to help strengthen the Marine Corps for the future as you look to student athletes and those in colleges and universities. Why have coaches come out to the Marine Corps and come out specifically to this opportunity in Quantico?
Yes, sir. So simply put, the Marine Corps recognizes that some of its finest Marine officers and Marines are student athletes in college. Individuals like Adam, phenomenal coaches like Adam, have a unique opportunity to have a student athlete for a potential of 4 years, oftentimes coming out a much more disciplined, mature, intelligent, and athletically driven student athlete who comes on to be a Marine officer. We recognize that there is a unique opportunity to not only partner with college coaches, but learn from college coaches as well during our coaches workshop. So annually, the Marine Corps will look to America in order to find college coaches who are interested in learning about the Marine Corps' philosophy on leadership, our individual recruiting effort, as well as what those student athletes can look for if they decide to pursue a career as a Marine officer.
And Adam, for you, when you went through this process and hearing everything that Captain Juarez has to say this morning about, looking to schools, looking to universities to find the leaders of tomorrow, why did you want to partake in this and really understand it from being within it?
Well, I was introduced to the Marine officer selection through our local recruiting OSO, Captain Don Williams, and we welcomed him to come to our team. He did some leadership training with our student athletes, and also Staff Sergeant De Leon. And just watching how they were able to kind of take our athletes, get them to work cooperatively almost immediately, and then having these team building things showed me that there was something that they're doing that allows these young men and women to work together collaboratively much faster. And so as my relationship with Captain Williams grew, he recommended that I look into uh, applying for this coach's workshop at Quantico. And so I did. And I was really excited that I received a call saying I was selected and that I was going to go down. And I really went there with an open mind because I didn't know what to expect. And I wanted to embrace all of what the Marine Corps philosophies were. And it was truly a special week.
And you said you wanted to embrace all the philosophies of the United States Marine Corps. What are some of those philosophies that stick with you after coming off of such an experience?
That leadership is innate in all of us. But my job as a coach is to help kind of coax that out, help people have the confidence to be a leader, have the confidence to step up. From a coaching standpoint, my job is also to set standards and hold my student athletes to a certain standard. And that standard needs to be defined, it needs to be upheld, and we have to have everyone do the same standard. And that goes with the officer training that Captain Juarez helped explain and help me live at least for a week.
And Captain Juarez, I was speaking with Adam off the air going into this about what this coach's workshop truly entails, and I would love to get the background here from you on exactly what Adam was put through, what these different pieces were that you wanted him to experience.
Absolutely. So, for starters, we understand that these college coaches from across the America in all different types of sports maybe don't have a military background and or an understanding of what the Marine Corps is all about. So, the first priority was ensuring that all of these college coaches understand what the Marine Corps' values are, specifically its core values of honor, courage, and commitment, and furthermore, what the relationship between officer and enlisted Marines are. After we build upon that relationship, we then bring in different subject matter experts from around the Marine Corps. Adam got a chance to go to Officer Candidate School, which is where we make our Marine officers in Quantico, Virginia, as well as the Basic School, which is the follow-on school for all commissioned lieutenants in the United States Marine Corps. Both schools have different approaches, both with vital purposes in order to make Marine officers that are well suited to lead Marines in the Fleet Marine Force. And in those two big steps, we also had a lot of breakout discussion groups in order to talk about intangibles, as I'm sure you can imagine, are pivotal for coaches and student athletes and furthering that foundation of what the Marine Corps' leadership philosophies are all about. So Adam got a chance to go on the obstacle course. He got a chance to do a combat fitness test. He got a chance to do some pretty tough workouts, a leadership reaction course, all in the name of esprit de corps, but also really understanding that as coaches, this is what your athletes could experience. Let's first put you in a situation where you might look to one of your student athletes to perform, and then maybe understand where you can improve. And as a coach, you can direct and influence a better outcome for your team.
Every coach in this coach's workshop, do they go through these things that challenge them mentally and physically and emotionally? Is everyone going through the same thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are different, call them physical capabilities for each coach. Maybe somebody's afraid to climb the rope at the very end. Or maybe somebody has a specific limitation that might not allow them to do the combat fitness test. But every coach is going through the different evolutions, at least offered the opportunity to, in order to further better understand what the Marine Corps' leadership philosophy is like. And as we know, as a student athlete, as a coach in the collegiate environment, there is a heightened sense of purpose in terms of what your athletes can expect of you. Just like in the Marine Corps, you would hope that your coach can do as well. So a very unique and pivotal opportunity for these coaches to experience what it's like playing again, if some of them have, hung up the cleats for a certain amount of time.
And for you, when you look at these different experiences and these different tests that are being asked of these coaches, the Marine Corps has so many things that you do, right? There's so many pieces to the day to day. It is something that's taken very seriously. It is, you're protecting the freedoms, and I mean, there's people that you'll never see, you will never know their names, you will never be around them, but you're protecting them. there's such a bigger calling when you are there as a U.S. Marine, yet you take this time to have these classes and these workshops. I know we talked about obviously recruitment and the importance with that, but why do you feel like it's good for civilians to truly understand what someone in the Marine Corps goes through? Why is that an essential piece that you would like to have that bridge always there?
I think it's important to make the distinction that these civilians that we brought in are college coaches who have the opportunity to mold, to mentor, to coach, to lead young men and women from across the country who truly come from all different types of backgrounds. Individuals that we have assessed can become the leaders of tomorrow, as you mentioned earlier, Dan. So it's pivotal for us simply because these college coaches have a unique opportunity to now carry the water back to their student athletes to show them that if they wanted to transition to a bigger and better team after they get done competing with their college, that they have an opportunity to do that at a much bigger stage, like you mentioned, for the United States Marine Corps and defending the freedoms of our country and the world at large. But the specific reason that we're looking to these college coaches is simply because they have that opportunity to engage in the specific Marine Corps leadership philosophies that they were exposed to over the last week. But in addition, to hopefully put some more W's in the wins column for their teams as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Adam, for you, when we look at these different things that you had the opportunity to learn, what stuck out the most? What was the thing, that kind of lasting piece of this coach's workshop with the U.S. Marine Corps that you take home with you? I know there's a bunch of different things that you're going to have, different tools in your toolbox, so to speak, but was there something that really just stuck with you, a message that stuck with you, or an experience itself that you just said, this truly moved me and I have to make sure that I share this with my team?
Dan, there were a lot of things that have stuck with me. And over the last 3 or 4 days, I've really kind of taken some time to step back and really consider the experience. I think the most important thing that I knew but didn't realize was that we trust our nation's defense with young men and women, whether they're enlisted or officers in that 18 to 24-year-old age range. And I realized that I need to rely on my captains and my athletes to be leaders, and I have to empower them to do great things.
Yeah.
Because if the Marine Corps can trust folks in that age range, so can I. And what I also realized is that I have to teach them how to do that. But once you teach that and once you instill that, then your team can grow to great heights. Major General Bowers addressed the coaches, and it was a fantastic talk, and he was personable and approachable, and not something that I was anticipating, honestly. We thought we were going to get talked at, and it was not that at all. It was talked to,
Yeah.
and he encouraged conversation. There's one line he said. He said, as coaches, you're trying to win championships, conference championships, national championships. He said, here at the Marine Corps, we're trying to win a world championship. And I remember getting goosebumps hearing that, because I've never considered what's on the line. I mean, yeah, you know these things, but as a civilian, you inherently just accept things are good. And there are folks like Captain Juarez out there that are putting their lives on the line to protect what we have here and allow people like me to be a swim coach. And my athletes have the ability to be swimmers in the collegiate setting and not necessarily have to be fearful of things because of these great men and women. And so there's certainly a different level of respect and a different level of honor that goes with that type of lifestyle. And I think that it needs to be embraced and it needs to be encouraged. And we have to honor those folks that do that.
Absolutely. Here on this edition of the Dolphin Dive, exclusive to our multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College, celebrating the Dolphins this morning with Adam Zakowski, the LeMoyne men's and women's swimming and diving head coach, and also celebrating the United States Marine Corps as we are here with Arizona Officer Selection Officer Captain Juarez. Captain, I want to go back to you for this. When you hear these words from Adam in the importance of recognizing the fact that there are young men and women protecting this country, protecting the world. And so when he's in practice looking at these young men and women to remember that, this age range close to it is out there putting their lives on the line every day and putting themselves in situations where, again, they're protecting people that they may never meet. When you think about and going back to the student athlete and the why they make sense in the United States Marine Corps, what are some of those core values, those core pieces that you see in student athletes that you really feel like you can draw out in the Marine Corps and get even more from?
Absolutely. Incredible words by Adam there. He hit the nail on the head in everything we were trying to get across last week. To answer your question, Dan, the first is absolutely discipline. A trademark of the United States Marine is our discipline. We truly believe that it is second to none. A student athlete recognizes that the discipline required to do something day after day after day, and the delayed gratification that comes with understanding the work I'm doing today may not be visible today or even tomorrow, but it definitely will be, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even 4 months from now, based off of, consistency, I would say is the first one. The second piece is a level of character and exposure to tough challenges that comes with that. So being able to have it a reaction towards adversity that welcomes adversity, right? If his team's in the pool and they're getting crushed in a workout, understanding that workout and that resiliency is going to make them better athletes and in turn better men and women of character, I think are two of the biggest things that we can look to our student athletes across the country, regardless of their sport, regardless of their college, and regardless of their background, can make for great United States Marines. And you mentioned it once already, talking about, defending the freedoms of the nation. I'm really happy that Adam went down that road, specifically talking about what the Marine Corps would consider the backbone of the Marine Corps, right? There are officers and there are enlisted personnel, but at the end of the day, it's the NCO, it's the non-commissioned officer, that corporal or sergeant, who is a 20, 21, 22-year-old man or woman from pick your corner of the country, who is executing the leadership principles that we have given them. And it is truly a sight to behold, something that we take a lot of pride in the Marine Corps, and something that, frankly, mirrors his athletes very well. He's coaching the leaders of tomorrow, as you mentioned, Dan. There's 20, 21, and 22-year-olds who come from all different backgrounds who are looking to do incredible things. And if you can empower them through your leadership and you can set standards, as Adam talked about, and you can hold them accountable, but you can also train them and develop them in a way that gives them the responsibility to take that action, great things happen.
So for you, Captain, why the United States Marine Corps for you? What made you make that decision?
Oh, man. So there was always an itch. You will hear individuals who join the military at some point talk about an itch in the back of their head. I would more so call it a calling. The Marine Corps is big on servant leadership. Something Adam and I talked about during his course at Coach's Workshop, simply because LeMoyne there has the Jesuit values. I went to a Jesuit school myself out at Loyola Marymount in California. That call to servant leadership, that desire to be a part of an organization that valued leadership and, more importantly, serving with and for others, was something that was absolutely instrumental in my desire to further my leadership at the next level. But frankly, the Marine Corps, for me, at least in my experience, was the only branch that asked about my character and what I was going to offer the Marine Corps. They were not trying to sell me on any one thing, on any one tangible item. It was really driven in the conversation of what intangibles and what skill set can you provide the Marine Corps nobly to lead United States Marines, because our young men and women from across the country deserve the very best leadership that Adam hopefully was exposed to, and it sounds like he was. We're very happy about that. And for the record, let me just say this on the air. Adam crushed it. He's got the battle scars to prove it, and I'm sure he'll show them to you here in a second if he doesn't already. But for me specifically, it was looking to get that leadership at the next level, knowing nobody doesn't like the Marine Corps, but the cherry on top was really the servant leadership and the idea that you are no better than any one man or woman on your team, but the team as a whole is what really is going to drive the ball forward.
And you spoke about the battle scars, and I'm going to be asking Adam to show those off in a second here. But I did want to get to something that Adam Zakowski, the head coach of LeMoyne men's and women's swimming and diving, mentioned here as part of this coach's workshop with the United States Marine Corps, and that is the fact of hearing the message. You're trying as a coach to win a national championship. We as the United States Marine Corps are trying to win a world championship. Just to go into that a little bit deeper and what those words truly mean, because we're not talking about FIFA. This isn't the World Cup. This is something bigger than that. So I'd love to hear your words on that.
Yeah, so I think to put it in context of the event that we were at when Major General Bowers had said that the coaches had just gotten back from a pretty excruciating day of physical events where we exposed them to different opportunities the Marine Corps utilizes to gain physical and mental toughness from their athletes, but also complex decision-making. And I think the real message behind that is that, again, student athletes from all across the country are given opportunities to compete at a very, very high level. Adam's team is no different. And while the work required to, win a conference championship, to win a national championship, or even to win your leg of the race, your relay of the race, when you break it down into its smallest unit, is a very big accomplishment and a very big deal. Understanding that the Marine Corps competing on the world stage, there are adversaries in every corner of the globe who are looking to, at a certain point in time, maybe engage with us on the battlefield, wherever that may be. Understanding that these student athletes have the opportunity to do that, as General Bowers said, at the next level on the world stage. And that while it may be a different uniform that we wear, it is a team, and it is a team under common goals and core values that, when paired with good leadership and good men and women, as individuals on Adam's team I'm sure are capable of, it is a unique opportunity. So reminding those coaches that what you went through earlier today was a glimpse of what a Marine Corps officer or enlisted Marines journey could look like in preparing for that world stage.
And in preparation for that world stage, Adam, you had an opportunity to experience that. It's time to show off your proud battle scars. Let's see them.
So Erin, my wife, basically said, no one wants to see these, so don't show them off. But you know what? It is what it is. So, not knowing what to expect or keeping an open mind kind of lets you challenge yourself in different ways. And so my battle scars were self-inflicted mostly, but it had a lot to do with the obstacle course and different physical things that you were asked to do in terms of jumping over walls and climbing ropes and having the agility to go above and below things. And again, as someone who, a former student athlete, those are what we talked about when we had to do. So my first one was there was about a 7-foot pole that you had to basically pull up to. You had to then put your arm over the top of it and then swing your body over the top. I was wearing a short sleeve shirt, and when I hopped up on top of that, my skin stuck on top of the metal bar, and I got this awesome looking bruise here as I pivoted my body over the top of the metal bar. And then the next obstacle we had to do was you had to climb up to a platform and then shimmy down another metal pole up onto another platform, and then hop over a 2 or 3 foot void to another log, and then skirt over the top of that. And I grabbed the log with this hand, and as you can tell, I scraped all the way down, and Captain Morris has a good picture of me falling off the top of that thing, and my glasses, of course, flew all over the place, but hey, whatever. And everyone's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, at that point, I was like, "Did I just dump it in front of everybody?" So the pride kicked in a little bit, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, no big deal." And the final obstacle was, and I'm not sure if it's a 20 or 25 foot rope climb, but you're instructed how to use your feet to kind of manipulate the ropes. It's not just using all of your arms, it's actually kind of setting your feet into a hold so you can kind of step up the rope And surprisingly, I've never done that before. And I was actually going up was not the problem. It was once I got up to the top, I knew darn well I wasn't going to fall down and I couldn't let go. So kind of, you know, locked my feet on this rope because, well, you don't want to fall. And as I was going down, I got a pretty good sized rope burn on my inside shin of my left foot. But again, it goes with the territory. I wear those battle scars proudly, and my children were absolutely uh, flabbergasted and very excited when I had these bruises because they're just mystified at how I could possibly do that to myself.
Yeah, the underarm one, that one is pretty gnarly. If you look at it like
Mhm.
from far away, it just looks like you have a lot of armpit hair. So that's okay. That's all right. So Captain Juarez, when you see, I mean, again, putting these coaches through this workshop and having them truly experience what it's like to be a United States Marine, these moments obviously happen. I want your honest opinion. How did Adam perform? And what do you think about the fact that, because I would imagine a lot of coaches walk away with some type of showing that they were in the United States Marine Corps even for a little while.
Absolutely. Let me be very clear. Adam performed phenomenally. Not just frankly in the obstacle course or in the combat fitness test or wherever the situation was for the day, but the truly engaging part of the workshop is those small discussion breakout groups and those opportunities to engage with key leaders like General Bowers, that opportunity to perform at that level. Again, student athletes, right? So it's one thing to perform on the field, it's another thing to perform off the field. Adam was incredible in terms of the value that he brought to our small group, to our team, but also being able to clearly extract some of the information that we were communicating last week in terms of the Marine Corps' idea on leadership and what it can do for him and his team. Specifically, though, I'll tell you, he got up the rope real quick. So I know he got a little bit of rope burn on the way down. That's just careful planning to make sure that he can make it down in one piece. But he flew up that rope pretty quick. And the combat fitness test was one that he did very well on as well. Overall, an incredible performance. And honestly, the only thing I could think when I was going through that, because I was a student athlete in college, was, man, I wish when I was a student athlete, I could see my coach go through something like this, right? Every student athlete knows that their coach at one point did the thing, did the hard workout, was in practices, was in games at some point, but it would be awesome to see your coach suffer a little bit, frankly, like these student athletes do on a daily basis when I know Adam programs those hard relays for them.
Well, and Adam's done a great job with LeMoyne Dolphins, men's and women's swimming and diving, and I believe that, obviously they have a nice family there and they listen to him. Do you think that they're going to listen to him even more now that they know that he's been through a rigorous test after test after test and that he's not just asking them to do different things?
Actually, I think it might be a little bit of the opposite. I think Adam might tell you in the next 6 months or a year that he may be doing a little more listening than he may be doing talking. One of the things we talked about last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, was the opportunity to listen and just observe your student athletes and the power that comes with that, and open and honest feedback, but understanding that just because you're the leader doesn't mean you have to be the one with something to say. It doesn't mean that you need to be the one to say it, frankly. Adam talked about empowering your subordinate leaders. He has team captains, he has seniors, he has influential people on that team who can do the speaking for him. And frankly, that may come as a more direct approach to engaging the team as a whole, because sometimes you can tune out the coach, right? So I think he definitely has a little bit more credibility walking around the swimming pool. But I also think that he might be executing a little bit more different approaches and different tactics towards his team. But I could be wrong.
Adam, would you concur that this opportunity at the coaches workshop with the United States Marine Corps, that this gives you a chance now to look at everything that you have done, all the success and pieces that have worked, and bringing in other elements, other tools? I know you said you took a lot away from this experience, but as a leader now, how would you define leadership maybe differently coming out of the coaches workshop, going off of the words of Captain Juarez, who spoke about listening and knowing that you, just because you are the leader doesn't mean you always have to be the one speaking. Are there things now that you would change in the definition of leadership coming off of this time with the United States Marine Corps?
You know, Dan, you've known me for a while. I love to talk. I love to be engaging, but I really sat back and listened to what people said last week. I always have questions, but last week those were quiet questions in private and listening to the way that other people spoke and let their mind and their thoughts come out. So that listening component for me was an important thing. I think that all of us can lead. I think that all of us have the ability to do it. I think my job now as the leader of the swim team is to empower my student athletes to be leaders or to give them the encouragement to do it. One of the things we talked about was that athletic greatness does not mean you're the leader. So your ability in the pool, whether it's a record breaker or a leader or leading the lane, doesn't mean that you are automatically going to be captain, or doesn't mean you're automatically going to be the leader that people want to emulate. And that kind of gave me hope for all of my athletes, because it's not just necessarily who's going to get that medal. It's who's going to pull everybody along, getting up to a standard, getting everybody on board and in line. And that's the leadership that will help generate us to greater levels than we've ever seen before. And it sounds crazy, but I spent the last 2 or 3 days, how am I going to operate this team in a more efficient manner? And as crazy as it sounds, I have it on my desk using my prop, but we've already kind of broken down our team into squads with our senior leaders, our captains, running squads. And those squads have all been kind of, we're talking about different colors and how we're going to utilize that smaller approach to get ourselves over the finish line. Squads are going to have certain tasks. They're all going to have certain standards they have to live up to, but it's going to help develop our seniors into real leaders, and they're going to have to lead our underclassmen, and then our underclassmen are going to learn what it's like to be a captain, right from day one as a freshman or a sophomore. And those qualities are just going to continue to infuse into our program, and we're going to become better and better every day.
Yeah, and I see the excitement. I see the level of importance that all of this has been for you, and talking with you off the air about it, on the air now about it, as we're here with Adam Zakowski, LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's swimming and diving head coach, and of course Captain Juarez, who joins us as the Arizona Officer Selection Officer of the United States Marine Corps. And so, Captain Juarez, I want to get back to you for this. When you hear all of these things that Adam's taken away, what other coaches have taken away, there's a history of the Marine Corps. There's a history with anything, but this history goes way, way back. And I don't know if people know exactly how far back. I didn't know until I looked it up. November 10th, 1775, in the history of the United States Marine Corps, going all the way back then and calling it not a brotherhood, not a sisterhood, but a warriorhood. I would love for you to share with us the importance of the history of the United States Marine Corps and what it means to be in a warriorhood.
Absolutely, Dan. The November 10th, 1775 is a day that we wear really very proudly. The Marine Corps birthday is something we celebrate every year. The specific, we can take this in a lot of different directions, but I think understanding over 240 years of winning battles, we like to say, in every climb, in every place. You look at any corner of the globe, you look at any major conflict, and as you mentioned, if you read your history, you will see that the United States Marine Corps was the first in, they were the last out, and they were winning our nation's battles. what it means to have that warrior spirit, what it means to have that brotherhood indoctrinated into a warrior culture, is understanding that that cannot happen without sound leadership, and that cannot happen without the core values that we mentioned of honor, courage, and commitment, right? Understanding that warrior ethos that we all embody, as Adam said, everybody has the capability to lead. Everybody can be a good leader, just like everybody has that warrior spirit inside of them. Understanding that if you want that higher challenge, if you want that call to serve, and you want that to be with the United States Marine Corps, we can help foster that warrior spirit and that warrior ethos within you. And it comes through, frankly, rigorous and grueling training. No different than, I'm sure, a pull workout with Adam and his team, something that I may not be the first to volunteer for. But I can absolutely say that brotherhood and that sisterhood, but specifically that warriorhood, maybe that you mentioned, is something that we wear very proudly because of the traditions that we have over the last 240 years. And understanding really that it comes from any man or woman from any corner of the country who has the desire to serve their country. They can do incredible things, and we have done incredible things, and the Marine Corps will continue to do incredible things. That corporal, that sergeant, if you look at the citations of some of the nation's highest decorated Marines, they come in every rank, all the way from PFC to your highest ranking officer. The call to serve and the idea of being a warrior knows no rank. It knows no skin color. It knows no gender. It has no place for any of that. It is simply the United States Marine, the title that we all earn, the title that we all wear. And it is something that, again, has a lot to do with discipline. It has a lot to do with character. It has a lot to do with understanding how to operate in a team, all things that student athletes, frankly, embody on a daily basis throughout their 4 years in college that we just do, as you mentioned, at the world stage. So that warrior spirit has been called upon time and time again. We do a great job of pulling that out of everybody. And I would argue also that Adam experienced that last week. There was a day, I think it was Wednesday specifically, when we put them through the gauntlet of quite a few workouts. And some of those coaches, I could tell, were looking up at the end of it, not having experienced that warrior ethos in a while. So something that, regardless of who you are, where you come from, the Marine Corps is looking for someone like you to embody that warrior ethos, and something that we know we can pull out of you.
Do you think that Adam will be putting ropes in the around the pool now?
I don't think he will. I would argue, though, that what he's already done in the short time since he's been back from Coach's Workshop is going to absolutely change the dynamic of his team for the better. Empowering small unit leaders, empowering subordinate leaders to take the initiative on their own, to truly adopt the philosophy that Adam and his team have set forward. He talked a lot about the values of him and his team. We talked about that last week and what that can mean for him and his team going forward. So a very unique opportunity. Going to be very interested to follow up with Adam in the coming months to see what that looks like for him and his team. I don't think ropes specifically, but it sounds like he's taken maybe some of the more important lessons that we taught last week and already started implementing them.
And before we go into something where it'll allow us all to get to know each other a little bit better here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, we call it Rapid Fire. It's a chance to talk about literally anything. But Captain Juarez, I want to go here before we go there. And that is looking at this model that you have, right? Reaching out to student athletes, reaching out to those that you believe have these quality or are exhibiting these qualities or already utilizing them, and to build that connection that's already there and say, United States Marine Corps, not that different from being on a team and what you're asked to do day in and day out, be it emotionally, mentally, physically. We don't always see wars going on, right? And in today's world, in the modern world, wars are not as simple as they looked in the past, where you have one side here and one side there, and here they run at each other on a battlefield. So when we're not seeing things, I think it's easy for someone who's not really paying too much of attention to think, well, there's nothing going on. The Marines aren't out there, the Army's not out there, everybody's kind of just relaxing, right? Because there's things going on in Ukraine, and yeah, there's some aid there, and there's things going on here, and there's some aid there. But it's easy for people to think in the modern era that there isn't a constant fight or a constant need for protection. What would you like to say to really destroy the thought process that the Marines are not actively working and challenging themselves and protecting this country on a daily basis, because I feel like sometimes if people don't see a physical fight, they don't believe that there's a world championship going on.
Yeah, the first thing I would like to say is that there are Marines forward deployed in every corner of the globe at all times. There is a Marine Expeditionary Unit. There is a small team of Marines. There is a forward deployed group of Marines. There are Marines in every corner of the globe standing ready for the call that we hope may never come. But as we know and history has shown, will eventually come. It's not an if, but it's a when. With that being said, Marines are continuously training. The Olympics happen every 4 years. You may not see that swimmer or that diver competing every single day for 4 years, but they understand, and again, where the correlation comes together, they understand that that opportunity to perform when called upon, they can execute, right? I would also offer that even if it's not a wartime environment, there are still Marines executing very important duties, potentially in harm's way all around the world. The only individuals entrusted with guarding every embassy across the country, across the globe, are United States Marines. So there are Marines in every country that the United States of America has a presence. Adam got an opportunity to fly on HMX-1, or not the specific plane, but with the squadron of HMX-1 that flies the President of the United States and his or her staff around. That opportunity is by Marines who train on a daily basis, executing the daily basic tasks that are going to be required to execute forward deployed in some environment, in a maritime environment, as we are amphibious culture, on land, or wherever that next fight may happen. So I would like to offer to all those individuals who maybe don't see what's happening on a daily basis, be very confident, be very assured, and sleep well at night knowing that your Marines are executing very rigorous training on a daily basis in order to make sure that we can meet the battle of tomorrow.
I can feel that pride in you, and I can feel that just kind of coming out of your chest. What is your favorite part of being a United States Marine?
There's a lot. I think it's something that Adam got a chance to experience, and was the perfect tie-in for our coaches workshop and all the college coaches from across the country who were there last week. We're talking about the NCO. I mentioned the non-commissioned officer earlier, 20, 21, 22-year-old corporal sergeant who has an immense amount of leadership responsibility on his or her shoulders to execute the intent and end state of the officers above him or her. What I mean by that is Adam had an opportunity to be exposed to different NCOs, different sergeants, specifically in the Marine Corps martial arts program, where Adam got a chance to throw a couple jabs and experience what the Marine Corps does in terms of training our war fighters and that warrior ethos that you talked about earlier. That was a sergeant. That was a young man who was able to articulate himself in front of a group of roughly 50 individuals that he had never met, all of whom were older than him, all of whom have had way more life experience than him. But he carried himself with a level of poise, confidence, and was able to articulate exactly what he knew how to do. All of that was developed through the Marine Corps. And so seeing a young man or woman who is no different than a junior or senior on Adam's team be able to articulate himself in a way like that is a very beautiful thing. And being able to see that forward deployed, being able to see that in a training environment where you see truly what our young leaders are capable of, it is something that I wish every man and woman across the country could see, because your United States Marines, who are the individuals you went to high school with, the individuals you went to college with, the people in your grocery stores all around the country, these are the individuals that are going to win that battle for tomorrow, and they are capable of incredible things and will continue to do incredible things. So my favorite piece about the Marine Corps is without a doubt seeing that corporal or sergeant execute something well beyond his or her peers for any 20 or 21-year-old across the country.
That coming from Captain Juarez here with us this morning of the United States Marine Corps, Arizona Officer Selection Officer, and we are here in this edition of the Dolphin Dive with Adam Zakowski, who just went through the coaches workshop with the United States Marine Corps, and of course is our LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's swimming and diving head coach. Before we jump into some questions where we get to do a little round robin here, Adam, I want to go back to you for this. Everything that you just heard Captain Juarez say, and really the theme of today is identifying the fact we can all be leaders, identifying the fact that there is something inside of each and every single one of us that, in my opinion, is given by God, and that God-given gift to come out of a human being and to get to see exactly who we are. The United States Marine Corps looking to bring that out in you, to show you your leadership, to show you your style, to show you how you are, who you are, why you are who you are, and what you can do with all those things that have been put inside of you. When you look at your team now, Adam, do you see even more so the capability of every student athlete? Do you see even more so the personality? And are you now excited about the challenge of pulling out of them exactly who they are so that they can see themselves even better, know themselves even better, and understand that so many of us are looking for superheroes, right? We're living in a day where Marvel is all over the place, and I'm wearing a shirt that's got the bat on it for Batman. We're living in a world where we look for superheroes, and the reality is they're all around us. As Captain Juarez said, they're in every corner of the world when we look at the United States Marine Corps. Are you excited now to pull out the hero in each and every single one of your student athletes and show them that instead of having to look for someone, they only merely have to look inside?
I think that with our student athletes, it's letting them understand or not letting them, giving them the tools to realize that all of that is inside of them. And while we have done that, in our program for my tenure and Coach Hannah's tenure before me, we've done that. We have a little bit of a guidebook now, and we have an ability to have the resources to us that will help us point our student athletes in that direction. When I look at the swimmers, by our nature, we are beyond delayed gratification. We spend 6 months in the pool to try to go a tenth of a second faster in a distance, and so you have to put all this time and effort in. And I think lots of times we, as swimmers and athletes, don't necessarily give ourselves the credit or recognize the grit and determination that is required to be able to do a sport like this. We spent a lot of time with resiliency and what that meant, and how adverse situations can teach resiliency. Well, putting your face underwater and swimming 3, 4, 5 miles a day develops resiliency in and of itself. And we need to embrace and celebrate that resiliency and that character building, because at the end of the day, after 4 years here, Dan, there aren't many professional swimmers, but they go and do professional things other ways. And so I'm a part of a committee here on campus called Vocational Companions. And what LeMoyne is trying to look at is how do you help guide students to what their next calling is. As a student and as an athlete here, your calling, at least on the swim team, is to be a student. So become, proficient in your studies, and an athlete, be proficient in your sport. And once you graduate college, you have to then have a change in what you think your vocation is, or you have to recognize that I was an athlete, I was a student, and now I'm going to do something else. And so by having this in my toolkit now, I have the confidence to talk about the fact that, yes, you want to go in the professional world. Yes, you want to go into the higher academic level, but have you considered, serving your country, and have you considered the Marine Corps? Because what their core values are the core values that we have as a program. And that will allow us to hopefully challenge our student athletes as they go through both our program and then enter the professional force in whatever they choose.
Yeah, I think, obviously this connection, we've talked about it this morning, in how being a student athlete and what you're asked to do, and the rigorous life that you go through, and all of the different pieces of what builds a championship caliber team, not just a championship caliber individual, and how that connects to the United States Marine Corps has really been honestly eye-opening and a fantastic conversation. I appreciate the fact that we've been able to have it here with Adam Zakowski and Arizona Officer Selection Officer Captain Juarez of the United States Marine Corps. I do want to do a round robin, and we can ask about anything. It can be about the U.S. Marine Corps. It can be about teamwork. It could be about music, movies, literally anything in the world. Adam already knows this. We're going to do a round robin. So, Adam, you get to ask Captain Juarez, who will then ask me, and then I'll ask you, and then we'll go back the other way. So, your question for Captain Juarez whenever you're ready, Adam.
All right. I wasn't able to ask him this
Oh,
when we were in Quantico, but what I found out was that, every kind of 3 years you have a different assignment. And it sounds to me like it's kind of like where you're told to go, not necessarily where you want to go. But if you could have the magic wand and you could go and do that job within the Marine Corps, where would it be and why?
it's an excellent question. I don't know if I had a magic wand that I would pick any one thing. Something that I've been very content on from the beginning, and something I told my boss recently, Major Kincaid, is I want to be at the point of friction leading the nation's best. So put me in an opportunity where I can utilize my skill set around some of the most highly trained Marines and allow me to accomplish a mission. I want to be put in the tough situations. I want to be put at the point of friction, and I want to show that through the philosophies and leadership that we spoke about last week, that we can get it done. So I don't know what that looks like specifically. The Marine Corps does do a pretty good job, I will say, of sending you where you want to go. There are enough spots around the world and within the country that you have an opportunity to go where you want to go. Like anything else, it's timing, right? No different than recruiting someone to wear the colors of LeMoyne in terms of funds, roster spots, maybe a certain relay, or you already have a swimmer in that category. So I don't want it to sound like a non-answer because I want it to be very specific. I just want to be at the point of friction leading Marines, and I want to do it at the highest level.
Incredible. Captain, your question for me?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious to know how you see, and frankly, this is my ignorance, but where you see your opportunity right now to bring different people on. What's been the most eye-opening conversation that you've had, and where has that brought you now, and what have you learned from that?
Yeah, I mean, this all started in college, doing NCAA Division III men's and women's basketball games. I was covering women's athletics before it was politically correct to do that. So I am very honored that almost 21 years ago, 21 years ago, that's what we were doing. But I would say, wake up call being the sports show. There's been over 5,000 guests on this show. We also have an entertainment show. We have a show that we've done, on Disney tips and tricks and all that good stuff. And then we do a relationship show. We do a travel show. So there's been a lot of moments where you'll get to know me, Captain Juarez, as somebody who likes to challenge myself. And whatever we accomplish, whatever I can, say, I'm really happy about that. I'm trying to do a better job of being happy in the moment and celebrating that moment. I mean, something really awesome that, and I'll answer your question, but I do want to make this note. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 just got re-released. I had no idea it was a 10-year anniversary, and I was in the movie as an extra. And Spider-Man, my favorite character my whole life, the way that all came about, I call it God incidences. My mom was in Rochester. She had a conversation. She called me. I was with my grandmother, her mom, that I called G-Mama, who's up in heaven now, who lived to be almost 101.
Wow.
And I applied. I didn't get it. I reapplied. I got it. They said, we like your look. We want you to come out. And here I am on set of a Spider-Man movie. And it was part of the Sony hack time. So like with all the changes with Marvel and Sony and all of that. So there was a lot of things happening at that time. And now in this 10-year anniversary, I just look back at moments like that it's I've wanted to work with screenwriting and directing, maybe acting. And to say, like, the first movie I was ever in is my favorite character from when I was a little kid and my mom was buying me comic books of Spider-Man is pretty incredible. And, God's always been that way to me. I would say the most impactful, because that was a very impactful event. But as far as, doing a conversation, I'm not saying this because you're here, but I've never done anything like this before. And it's not that I haven't wanted to. I have family that has been in multiple branches of the military. And in World War II, we had 6 representatives of my family that all came home. They were in all different pieces. They were in Germany, they were in Japan, they were in the water, and everybody came home. One of them was captured and put in Auschwitz and made it out. So when I look back, one was shot down and parachuted out and was in Luxembourg, Virginia, hidden by a family, and now there's a monument there in recognition of the family that protected my uncle. And it hits home with me because my grandfather was on the front lines of the United States Army in Germany at 18 years old. If he didn't make it home, there's no dad for me and there's no me. So I can honestly say that when I reflect, and I said a little bit of this to Adam off the air yesterday, having this background in my family and having the connection to those that sacrificed in my family, and the fact that we came home, and they wrote an article about, the 4 brothers on my dad's side, including my grandfather, that they all came home. And my great uncle Carmen, my grandfather on my other side, Tommy Cavino, Ralph Tortora. I want to mention everybody. My uncle Vince, my great uncle Bucky, whose name was Frank, but they called him Buck. My great uncle Pat, who just passed away here within the last couple of years. Having this conversation with you right now is provoking, and I told Adam this yesterday before we even had it, it's provoking a deeper want to understand and a deeper want to even partner and work with this message and continue this U.S. Marine Corps message beyond this conversation. So you asked me what's impactful. I'm speaking with a captain in the United States Marine Corps. I think my life is pretty good this morning.
You're too kind.
I thank you for your service. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said you're too kind. Thank you for your support, but happy to do it. And honestly, just like you have this incredible platform here for somebody to hopefully look at this and see good things and or, internally look within themselves, no different than the Marine Corps is looking to partner with individuals like Adam because he has the same platform. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's my absolute pleasure because I know freedom doesn't come free. So,
that's right.
Adam, my question to you, if you had me go through the same workshop you went through, what do you think I would perform the best at? What do you think I would be the worst at?
I think, Dan, you would be the best at the leadership school where you have to lead a small squad into I'm going to call it a puzzle. So there's this think of an open top with no door escape room. You have to do certain things in order to achieve an objective, and you're the only person I know that can take a simple question and go for about 3 minutes. So that's a good thing. But you would have the ability to talk and communicate, and that level of communication that you're required to have in the leadership training course would be something that I think you would excel at, because you have to synthesize the information, you have to look at the objective, and then you have to come up with a concise set of directions of the people you're leading in order to solve the problem. Problem being you have a rope, some common board, and you have to figure out a way to make a bridge so that you can get yourself, your entire squad, and in that scenario, an ammo can across a makeshift bridge. And how do you tell people how to do that? And how do you get people to trust your judgment? And you've never met these people before in about 45, 50 seconds. And so I think that you would have an innate ability to kind of communicate that to those folks in a way that they understand.
Thank you. What would I be the worst at?
Uh, I've never seen you do physical things. I don't mean that in the wrong way, but I have a feeling that you might not be the greatest at the martial arts stuff. I'm probably going to eat my words on this one, but I just feel like that. Yeah, I don't know if the boxing would be the greatest thing for you.
All right. Hey, I accept the challenge. I got asked if I would box against Mike Tyson if I got paid $500,000. I said I'd make him laugh, try to get a couple hits in and run.
Yep.
But your question back to me, Adam, as we go back here one time.
So I grew up in Connecticut, and in the '90s, UConn women had this incredible run of championship after championship. I think 115 consecutive wins without a loss.
Hmm.
And so, from a location standpoint, women's basketball has been kind of in anybody who's from Connecticut's blood for a long time. And there's been this awakening or recognition of women's basketball and in greater extent women's sports. But why did it take so darn long? I mean, we've been watching the Sue Birds and the Rebecca Lobos of the world for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely stand them up, knock them down. And before UConn's dominance was the Tennessee women. What took so long?
I think it's called a vicious cycle. I think growing up as a kid, you never saw it. The women's games weren't on television, so it created a message of if it's not on television and it's not on the radio, then it's not important. And if it's not important, then I don't want to watch it. So then whenever they talked about maybe putting it on television or putting it on the radio, there was people saying, well, it's not important enough to be on there because you taught us that it wasn't important. So it just created this cycle that kept spinning around and around. I remember specifically being at home right here in Syracuse, where my dad still lives today, and looking at the newspaper and seeing like the score of a women's game or two and thinking to myself, why is none of this on TV? There's a giant men's bracket in my newspaper, and there's this little tiny thing about the women's games, and there's nothing there. Maybe the national championship. The reason why people only knew about UConn and Tennessee is not just because they were winning, but it was like that was the game. That was the championship. That was the end, right? So nobody paid attention to anything in the beginning, the middle. It was only the end. And so why did it take so long? Because there's a lot of closed-minded people that did the follow the leader thing, and I don't know why here in America we follow the leader when the information doesn't back it up. And I'm very confused by, I mean, when I started my career and they said, we want you to broadcast. When I filled in one day and they said, we want you to keep doing it, I said, men's and women's? And they said, well, definitely men's. And I said, why wouldn't we do both? So back in 2003, I said, why would I set up during a women's game? Because remember, Division III, these are double headers. So I'm going to come into a women's game. I'm going to look at all of the women on the team. I'm going to set up all the cameras and go, no. It's not for you. It's for when you're done. I could never have done that. I cannot treat people the way that I would not want to be treated. And so why did it take so long? Because there's closed-minded people that were following a vicious cycle that had no factual evidence. And why is it happening now? Because unfortunately, some people are being forced to talk about it and forced to show that they care about it. When there's people like myself, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, I'm saying this as truth, I cared about it the whole time because I was raised by really good women in my family that you respect everybody, regardless of color, gender, nationality, religion. And I think when you watch women's athletics, you realize something really simple. Student athletes and professional athletes are student athletes and professional athletes. It doesn't matter their gender. It matters the content of their character and how much they're willing to put out there and how they give their soul to the things that they absolutely love. And if you can't appreciate a women's sport, then I don't think you're a fan of sports, because women and men are no different. They're either going to give their effort or they're not. And to the ones that give it all, I'm honored to know every single one of them. My question for you, Captain Juarez, and I have so many. Are aliens real? No, I'm kidding. So, no, but my question for you, my question for you. We didn't see his face on the camera here. That I wanted to see his face. But my question for you, Captain Juarez, is: there's so many places I can go. Who is the mentor in your life that you would credit to this day of helping you be the person that you are, and why?
Ooh, man, that one's tough. I think because it's so fresh in my memory right now. You talked about growing up with powerful, respectable, incredible women who helped raise you. Unfortunately, last week at the coach's workshop, I had to leave a little bit early because I had to attend a funeral. Somebody that had a very big impact on me at a very, very young age, through really my life up until she just passed away. My mom's eldest sister. My mom's one of 14. So very large family.
Yeah.
My Aunt Sue was the eldest, and I'm the oldest of three boys. And so something that I think that was instilled in me at a very young age was the idea of it's not about you. We mentioned that last week at the coach's workshop. Leadership is not about you. It's about selflessness. It's about servant leadership. It's about humility. And she taught me that at a very young age and helped instill in me what it meant to set the example for my younger brothers, what it meant to set the example for my peers around me, and what it meant to walk my life in a way that was respectable, commendable, and that others would be drawn towards. And so when I think about somebody who had a very big impact on me, even though she didn't live with me, even though we didn't talk every day, she is without a doubt somebody that I would look at from an age, honestly, as far back as I can remember, wanting to be like and wanting to emulate. Yeah. Her confidence, her demeanor, her humility, her integrity, everything about her was everything you could ever ask for in a man or woman. Like you mentioned earlier, regardless of race and everything, or excuse me, regardless of gender, race, nationality, religion, you name it, she was just somebody that everybody would look up towards and somebody that I looked up to as well. So when I think about a mentor to me that has inspired me over the years, the first person that comes to mind is my Aunt Sue. Everything that she was and everything that I will carry forward. Just the leader. I can only imagine what it must have took to help raise 13 other, young kids. Yeah. And so we want to talk about leadership and we want to talk about sacrifice. I think that she's the embodiment. She embodies that more than anybody. And so I'm very grateful to have had her in my life to help mentor me and to set the azimuth.
Oh, to Aunt Sue up in heaven. I know she's proud to hear that this morning for sure. So God bless on that, and awesome message. You're welcome. You get the final question, Captain Juarez, and you get to send it to Adam.
Sure. So Adam, I'm really curious, you've had a great coaching career. You've done incredible things. Who is the one athlete that you look at, whether it was somebody that you coached, somebody you competed with, or somebody that you saw on television, or maybe in an arena somewhere? It could be swimming, diving related, could be another sport. You talked about basketball earlier. Who's an athlete that you look to that you want every single one of your athletes to emulate, right? I'm sure as a coach, you're referring to somebody constantly. Hey, when so-and-so does this, when so-and-so was in this situation, or when so-and-so accomplished this is the type of student athlete that you want to build your team around and you want everybody to emulate. Who is that person?
Early in my coaching career, I was blessed to have a trio of young women, Maggie Fletcher, Catherine Coughlin, and Summer Schmidt. This was probably, 15 years ago. And all three of those women competed at the national level. Maggie competed at Open Water Nationals. Catherine at nationals, she ended up going to Vanderbilt, and then Summer swam all the way up to U.S. national championships. And these young women at the time were 16, 17 years old, and they push themselves in ways that you expect a college athlete to do, but they push themselves to that level as just getting their driver's license. And so, while I don't necessarily refer to those three young women by name in practice, what I know though is that there's that drive that pushes someone to the next level. There is a drive of being the first. We talk about being, you don't want to be last in and first out. You want to be first in and last out. And going that extra mile or doing all the volume, or if it says to do 15 reps, you're not happy with the 15th and you do it again. It's what I was taught by those women at a young age as a young coach, that we can ask athletes to do things, and there is an inherent drive. And once you see that inherent drive, you have to foster it, and they can do wonderful and great things. And we can do that here. And it's a message I think that we all can embrace. But seeing that drive, fostering it, and letting it kind of getting out of the way, and helping get them and put them into the right environment. That's what we talk about.
Oh, that's awesome.
That coming from Adam Zakowski, the head coach of the LeMoyne Dolphins men's and women's swimming and diving teams, as well as our Arizona Officer Selection Officer of the United States Marine Corps, Captain Juarez. I thank you both for this very special, this very unique, and history in the making dolphin dive that we had here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Captain Juarez, I appreciate your service to this country, and to all your brothers and sisters in the Warriorhood. Please tell them thank you on my behalf, and I'd be more than happy to do that myself. To all of you watching and listening that are in the Marine Corps, I want to thank you. To everyone considering joining the Marine Corps, I want you to make that consideration a phone call, and I do thank you for watching and listening today. Also, Captain Juarez, you are named incredibly with that first name of Daniel. Shout out to that. So to you both, thank you for this conversation. It touched my heart, and it definitely put me in a whole unique experience that I've never been in before. So I look forward to more opportunities with the Marine Corps. And Captain Juarez, I hope you stay in touch. Adam, you already know. So thank you both this morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Thank you for having me. Adam, we'll talk soon.
Yep. Welcome, everybody. Hoorah.
Take care.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here on the broadcast inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, making some history today. Did you think you'd be watching Wake Up Call or any sports show and get to have the opportunity to hear from the United States Marine Corps? Well, whether you thought you would, or whether you thought it would never happen, or well, it was never a thought on your mind, well, it's here today. And those that support and defend, I've said this over and over and over again, and I believe I said it within the last couple of days. Freedom is a God-given blessing. Not a right, not a privilege. Well, it is a privilege. Not a right, I should say. You don't look up at God and go, that's my right. Freedom is a God-given blessing. And human beings have taken that away from each other, historically, throughout time. There are those that fight for those freedoms abroad, at home, and you might never see it. You may never know what's going on. And whether we're talking about the United States Marine Corps, the United States Air Force, the United States Army, the United States Navy, whoever we're speaking about, in the military and in the protection of freedom and the opportunity for freedom in certain cases where freedom has never existed. I think that it is extremely important for all of us to understand that when you get up in the morning and you can go eat the cereal you want to eat and say the things you want to say on social media and do what you want to do, not everybody has those privileges. Not everybody has those opportunities. Some people speak their mind and disappear. Some countries can't have that. There is no free speech. There's free speech if you agree with them. And that's where this country needs to be careful. I'm a broadcaster. I utilize free speech every day. But we live in a country where free speech isn't as clear as it used to be. It's freedom of speech as long as you agree with the people that are speaking to you, at you, over you. That's not how we do this show. That is not Wake Up Call. You can disagree with me. I ask for two things on my show always. Respect me, respect yourself, respect others. Respect is one, okay? Respect of yourself, others, and when you're talking to me or whoever you're talking to. The second thing is to justify your opinion. You can come on the show and say, Dan, I totally disagree with you. You know, I don't think that this is the best NFL international game this season. I disagree. I think it's this one. Okay. But saying I disagree with you, then give me your points. Justify your opinion. And if you said, Dan, I disagree with you because you're a jerk and I hate you, well, that's not being respectful, and it's also not justifying anything you're saying. So my rules have been very simple on this show. When it was the Dan Tortora show, when it was anything, you know, being Wake Up Call now, the evolution of this show has kept the same foundation. I believe in God. If you don't, I welcome you to the show. If you do, I welcome you to the show. I respect you. As a human being, I respect you as a child of God. Whether or not you believe, I believe in you. I want the best for you. And I ask for the same respect in return. And I've always asked people to justify their opinion and to be respectful. I remember that going back to my first broadcast outside of college at ESPN in Scranton, Pennsylvania on 630, 1240, and 96.1 FM back in 2008. I said, justify your opinion and be respectful. Those have been my very simple rules for a very long time. So this show, everything I've done has a consistency of what matters to me. What is at my core? God is at my center. My morals and my values surround that. And then we build out from there the vibration of this show. Having the United States Marine Corps represented today, and I can thank Adam Zakowski for that because he made it possible, that is a very beautiful thing. And Captain Juarez, to me, a wonderful representative of the United States Marine Corps, of everything that he shared today and how he shared what he shared. You could tell that, I mean, he's somebody that if I was at a U.S. Marine Corps event and he was speaking, I would listen. So, you know, to both gentlemen that were on the show today, to the United States Marine Corps, to the coaches that were in the coaches workshop with Adam Zakowski, to LeMoyne College, thank you. Because there's really no words that can suffice how much this means to me and how I'm going to reflect on this after the show and be like, wow, I just spoke with the United States Marine Corps. That, you know, the little kid in me is, you know, when I was a little kid, you saw anybody from the military, they walk by, you're quiet, you got your hand to your head, you're silent, right? You're being respectful because, these men and women, they're protecting you in battles you don't even know are going on. And is there ever enough words to say to really embody the thank you that we should all be giving them. I mean, I got to put the United States Marine Corps seal on the show today because I was welcoming someone from the Marine Corps. I mean, I'm very honored. I'm very blessed. I'm very privileged. I'm very thankful. And yet I don't think that, I think that there's got to be more words for that. So Captain Juarez, thank you. Thank you for your service again. Thank you to the United States Marine Corps for your service then, now, and forever, and always. And Adam Zakowski, thank you for being a great friend and a true leader in our community. And you know I love you. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We got the WNBA and the NFL to talk about right after this. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are inside of the Heritage Hill studios in Heritage Hill, as you know, with two awesome locations coming to us in Pompey at the Heritage Hill Brew House, where you can go out there and enjoy the beautiful majesty of central and upstate New York's just nature. It looks like a painting all the time. So head out to the Heritage Hill Brew House on Sweet Road in Pompey, and of course Heritage Hill North at the Sweetheart Corner. How about that? Sweet Road, Sweetheart Corner. I think Dan Palladino did that on purpose. 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York. Make sure you head out there to Heritage Hill North as well. So with that being said, we got some conversations to have here this morning about the wonderful world of the WNBA as well as the NFL. A big time shout out to Caitlin Clark, who officially made her debut last night inside of the WNBA. And so dropped 20 points there, 4 3-pointers made and 3 assists for the Indiana Fever. And, I feel like and I don't want anybody stealing this. I feel like I'm going to say it, somebody's going to steal it. So, but, I want to do some, sizzle reel stuff, right? Some like really cool shots and assists and different things and moves that Caitlin Clark makes on the court, and to the song "You Give Me Fever," because I love that song as a kid. My mom knows all about that. She knows that's one of my favorite songs. I used to sing it at the breakfast table, and just a really cool song and has some history with me. But being with the Indiana Fever and let's face it, watching Caitlin Clark, "You Give Me Fever" is a song that definitely makes perfect sense. Shout out to Caitlin Clark in her debut. Really excited about what she's going to bring to the WNBA. And I'm just, I'm happy for the WNBA. I'm happy that people are talking about it. I'm happy that, this is something that's a topic of conversation now. It's been around for a long time. So the fact that we're finally discussing this is good. It's good to finally be hearing people talk about the WNBA and the fact that they're watching these games, they're paying attention to these games, they know the names of the players. So, that to me is a good thing. It's a very good thing. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see that there's a passion for women's basketball. Because, and this is the thing that's crazy. Basketball is basketball, y'all. Basketball is, like I said earlier in the show today, my career has shown this over and over again. Basketball is basketball. I've covered men's and women's basketball since I started my career. We did women's volleyball. Okay, basketball is basketball, sports are sports, student athletes are student athletes, pro athletes are pro athletes, and I got a lot of respect for them. Right? For those out there doing things with the goodness in their heart and being positive and knowing that they're role models and taking that seriously, I appreciate all that. So Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, and this is a cool time too, because the WNBA, right? This is the thing about the WNBA that I think is really awesome, is that we just saw at the beginning of April, it's May, okay? What is today? May 15th. So at the beginning of April, a little over a month ago, we saw the college basketball national championship for, women's basketball, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, so on and so forth. We saw this stuff happening in March and April. And then we have the draft, like right after, for the WNBA. And now we're already playing WNBA games. That's a great system for the WNBA to have, because it's like, okay, you're thinking about women's basketball. You just watched the women's basketball NCAA tournaments, and now coming off of these tournaments, watching the WNIT or the NCAA and D1, D2, D3, JUCO, whatever. So now that you've watched all this, Brian and Stratton, you talk about being inside of the USCAA and watching that national championship. So all of these championships going on in college basketball, they end, you go right into the WNBA draft, and then right after the WNBA draft, you feel like Caitlin Clark and everybody out there had the chance to take like type of breath, right? A quick one, and now they're playing. That's such a good system, because you're already watching women's basketball, and then you're watching the draft, and then right after the draft, you're watching them play. There's no like 2 months in between. And I think, that's good. It's good marketing to make sure that you keep people's minds and eyes and ears continuously connected to, women's athletics. I think the NWSL for professional women's soccer and the WNBA for professional women's basketball here in America are doing some good things. And I just hope that that continues. And I hope there's more opportunities created for women to play professionally in the sports that they love right here in the United States of America and abroad. So, when you look at the WNBA and we look at things here, teams really early on, I mean, we just saw the season come into fruition. By the way, folks, for those of you that don't know, there's 12 teams out there right now. WNBA news that I'm really, really, really excited about is the fact that Toronto is going to be getting its own WNBA team. And I'm ecstatic. I'm really looking forward to this, and very much excited about this opportunity. It was something that was talked about over the last couple of years, and now it's going to happen. So the fact that this is going to be a real thing to me is absolutely awesome. And just to give some news here on it, I want to give any updates we have here. So a couple days ago, the WNBA announced that Toronto is going to get an expansion team. And so some people are trying to figure out what the name should be. Now, I've been a Toronto Raptor fan since the Toronto Raptors came into fruition. I think their logo came out in 94, so I was technically a fan in 94, and I've been a fan ever since. So they had their first season in 95, 96. Damon Stoudemire fan forever and ever. By the absolute awesomeness and incredible just beauty of God, I got to meet Damon Stoudemire, interview Damon Stoudemire, shake Damon Stoudemire's hand, and hug Damon Stoudemire after being a fan at 9 years old, getting to meet him as a professional. Who would have thought? And this is why I tell you folks, chase your dreams. Okay, chase your dreams. Because those things that you think are impossible can be achieved by you simply taking a step forward and believing in yourself. I wrote Damon Stoudemire a letter that my mom helped me send out when I was a kid. And then I thought, am I ever going to meet this guy? And I never gave up hope, but it's kind of like in your head, like, how am I ever going to meet Damon Stoudemire? And then I end up meeting him because of my work ethic, because I chased my dreams, because of the blessings of God above and beyond everything. So because of God, because of my fight, because of my desire, because of my dedication, I met my favorite player almost 30 years after I knew about him. And I met him because I work hard and I built connections and I networked and I built a reputation for myself. So how did I get to Damon Stoudemire? God. A whole lot of God and a tiny bit of me. But that tiny bit of you folks, if I never took a step forward, if I didn't chase think about it. I cover the ACC. So I get credentialed for the ACC because the ACC, thankfully, thank God, respects my work and respects me as a professional. So they give me, without question, credentials to whatever I want to go to. And because of my hard work, I get the credential. And then because of the amazingness of God putting me in front of the right people, I have wonderful partners in business that have invested in what we do here. And then I have the money to go travel to Charlotte. So God, hard work, reputation, meeting good people, networking, all of that together, all of that meeting God halfway turned into how I met Damon Stoudemire. So when you say to yourself, how am I supposed to do it? I literally met my favorite player because I worked hard, believed in God, believed in myself, never gave up, and did everything I could to achieve my dreams. I didn't think that it was going to lead to this, but without chasing my dreams, I would have never met Damon Stoudemire this way. So chase your dreams, kids. I don't care how old you are. I'm saying, kids, if you're 70 or 80 years old, chase your dreams and believe in God because God believes in you. So what should the Toronto Raptors be called? So this is something interesting here. And what's in a name? So the new WNBA expansion franchise coming out of Golden State announced that they're going to be called the Golden State Valkyries. It's known in mythology as a female warrior who escorted souls of the dead to Valhalla. They're also seen, Valkyries are seen in the Marvel movies, and they were first shown to us in the Thor movies, speaking of Asgard and the connection to the mythology of Thor. So, pretty interesting here. Golden State is going to have the Valkyries, which I think is an awesome name. And naming a sports franchise is really difficult. So, I'm looking at some names that some people have here. Let's see what we think here. So, a few options and ideas. Toronto Dragons. I mean, they already have the Raptor. So, Dragon. Toronto Sirens. That's kind of cool. So, and Toronto Gyaldems. For the diverse Caribbean culture in Toronto. Toronto Snakes. You know, just some people throwing stuff out there. I mean, I think of all of these that I'm seeing, I probably like Dragon the most. But I'm super excited about this. I think that in Toronto's, you know, a smart city, they do really cool things. And I mean, for goodness sakes, outside of their arena, they call it Jurassic Park, which is incredible. So I think Toronto has done some really wonderful things, and the city's been smart when it comes to the Raptors. So I think with this team, they'll obviously put a lot of thought into this, I believe, and come up with something good here. Now, the WNBA expanded to 13 teams with Golden State's Valkyries that I just mentioned, who are San Francisco based. They're going to begin play next season. So 2025, they'll be getting play. The Toronto 14th team here, they're going to be playing in 2026. And it looks like the WNBA is going to have at least 14 teams as they step forward. So I guess my question to you, and I'm going to put it up on social media, is what should be the name of the WNBA expansion team in Toronto? I'm going to put one up that simply says what should be the name, and you reply with what you think the name should be. And then I'm going to put it on Facebook, and I'm going to put it on X, the former Twitter. My X is at CallDT. That's at CALLDT. And my Facebook is at WakeUpCallDT. So I'm going to put the poll question there to just give me your... Well, I'm going to put that question to give me your thoughts. And then I'm going to come up with 4 names on X to put out there and see if you like any of those names. So feel free to give me your thoughts. I want to know. I mean, again, in my lifetime, the Toronto Raptors, when they came out, my favorite team. They've been my favorite team. They'll always be my favorite team. I got Damon Stoudemire. I don't know if you could see him, but he's right here behind the James Cook. There's D. Stod right there. So, and shout out to my James Cook that I won in the Panini Player of the Day giveaway that was going on at GG Cards and Breaks. So, really cool to win that and to have some fun. Well, I won the week. I won one of the 4 weeks, and then out of the 4 winners, they select who wins the James Cook by their drawing, and I ended up winning the James Cook for the monthly giveaway too, which was really, really cool. So big time shout out for that. But yeah, I mean, the WNBA, listen, I'm going to be following this. I'm going to challenge myself to write some articles and, you know, do some work on this, do something in connection to the WNBA's expansion, because I want to be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. If I can be, I would love to be a part of it. I've been a Toronto fan since day 0 or day almost 0, right? Because I wasn't there when they were talking about it in Toronto, but when the logo came out, I was like, boom, I'm a fan. So I'd love to be a part of this now. as I'm living in a time where we're making history once again with another professional basketball franchise coming to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and that being in the WNBA, which I think is great. And I've already determined that they are my favorite team because I love the city of Toronto and I love my Raptors. So, really excited about it. Looking forward to it. We're going to take a step aside. Speaking of excited, we've got some news from the NFL that just can't seem to help themselves in giving out information, or somebody's giving out the information on what's going on here with the international games. So the schedule is supposed to be released tonight. We've gotten pieces of it already, and we're going to be discussing some NFL news as well as the international games here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So stay close to us from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. We'll be back with NFL talk right after this. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, located for you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is open 7 days a week. What sports card shop will you find open 7 days a week? I don't know of many. And they are open for you Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. They have singles, packs, graded cards, and boxes. You can go in there and open up a box, see what you can get. A blaster box, a mega box, whatever it may be, of so many different things that they have, from hockey to baseball, basketball, football, soccer, UFC, AEW, All Sport, as well as Disney Lorcana. And you can also find Pokemon right on site, on location at GG Cards and Breaks. They're constantly getting things in. They just got in a ton of graded cards, and you got to get in there, folks, because I've been buying them. But over these last couple of weeks, been going in there, getting some graded cards, finding them, buying them, bringing them home. So make sure you get out there. Their display cases are constantly changing. They're constantly evolving, and they have so many new football, basketball, as well as baseball things that have come in. So you definitely don't want to miss out on your opportunity. You could see me post something, or GG Cards and Breaks post something on their social media, and within an hour or two, maybe that half hour, maybe within that day, it's gone. So you got to get out to GG Cards and Breaks, whether you're looking for singles of your favorite players, favorite teams, as well as looking for something that's graded that you can have encapsulated and keep that forever, along with opening a pack and trying to find something special yourself, opening up a box and having more opportunities at packs to bring something home that truly is unique. Also at GG Cards and Breaks, they have Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA, every single team in their own boxes. I don't know anybody else that takes the time to do something like this at their sports card shop. So a big time shout out to GG Cards and Breaks for everything they do to go that extra distance for the sports card and hobby card collecting fan, those that love the trading cards, Pokemon, Disney Lorcana, Marvel, and more. GG Cards and Breaks. Experience the difference at 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, let's get into the NFL. There's some different NFL news pieces that have gone on, and tomorrow with Papa Joe, I'm going to break down even more the schedule side of things, but I want to take a look at something that just popped up today. The Jaguars, and how many times people say to me, Dan, they haven't said it recently. I'm going to give people credit for not saying it recently. But how many times I hear, Dan, they're talking about expansion to Europe. Dan, they're talking about a city getting a team. Dan, they're talking about da-da-da-da-da. Do you think it's Jacksonville? Oh, Jacksonville's definitely going to Europe. Oh, Jacksonville's definitely going to go to London. Jacksonville's definitely going to go to L.A. Jacksonville's going to definitely go to whatever. No, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars for those of us that physically go to the games, physically cover the team, are there in the city of Jacksonville. Folks, the Jaguars have put a ton of money into a stadium and practice facility and Daly's place that's right connected to the stadium, and a ton of apartments going up and different places to shop and enjoy, hotels, changing the highway system, everything on the water there in Jacksonville. If you physically are in Jacksonville, you would think that it would be ludicrous to think that this team was leaving, going anywhere else. Why would Shad Khan pour all this money? Why would the Jaguars organization continue to pour money into Jacksonville if they're not staying in Jacksonville? And now, the $1.4 billion stadium, these upgrades, all these things we've heard about, that will keep the Jaguars in Jacksonville for at least the next 3 decades. For goodness sakes, the rally cry of Jacksonville is Duval. Duval, that's the county in Florida that Jacksonville, Florida is in. So why would you make the rally cry of your franchise the county you play in Florida if you planned on leaving Jacksonville, Florida? That makes no sense. And it's never made sense. But see, people need something to talk about, and they want to have this conversation that the Jaguars are going to leave Jacksonville because they think, well, if a team's not good, they're leaving. Well, you know Kansas City, before they got Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, that they were like 2-14. They didn't leave Kansas City, Missouri. Worth noting. Los Angeles has lost franchises, and yet now they have 2. So, I mean, folks, the reality of the reality of the reality is that the Jacksonville Jaguars, in my opinion, were never leaving Jacksonville. And I don't know why it was a topic of conversation outside of just the ignorance of people not being physically in Jacksonville to see what they give to the city of Jacksonville. And what the city of Jacksonville gives back to them, by the way. Good morning, Mama. So, doesn't make any sense. But good to hear the good news for the Jacksonville Jaguars and this stadium upgrade here that we're looking at here. $1.4 billion. So we saw what the stadium was going to look like. I brought that out and showed that to you months ago. But Jaguars and the city of Jacksonville agreed to spend $1.4 billion on Stadium of the Future. It calls for the city of Jacksonville as well as the Jaguars to each contribute $625 million. That's crazy. It's incredible. Now, it won't levy any new taxes which won't levy any new taxes to pay for the rebuild, would chip in another $150 million to get Everbank Stadium ready for construction in 2026. So Jacksonville won't be levying any new taxes to pay for the rebuild, and will chip in another $150 million to get everything ready at Everbank. Wow. This is awesome. So the plan is that council members are expected to vote in late June. A simple majority of the 19 members is what they need in order for this to pass. And then it would go to the NFL owners meeting in October, where 24 of 32 votes would be needed for final approval on the stadium. Now, Jaguars team president Mark Lamping, who's been on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, he said, quote, "We wouldn't be proposing it or pushing it if we didn't have a certain level of confidence that this deal would be approved," end quote. Construction would begin following the 2025 season, so they got some time. They're going to be playing there 2024-25 and then 25-26. And so the Jaguars would play in front of a reduced capacity in 2026 and host home games in either Gainesville or Orlando. I have proposed Orlando because of the Camping World Stadium. Makes way too much sense. And we're looking at this. So in either Gainesville or Orlando the following year, Daytona Beach International Speedway was under consideration but was eliminated, which I agree with. No offense to the Speedway. Now, the proposal will include a 30-year lease, which I mentioned. What I mentioned 30 years, that's what they're connecting to here. A 30-year lease, as well as agreements that address the franchise's future in London, and a non-relocation clause. Under the new lease, the Jaguars would play all preseason and postseason games in Jacksonville and would continue to play one home game a year in London, probably at Wembley Stadium from what I'm seeing here. And they could play one additional home game every 4 years overseas, but only if the NFL dictates, and only during seasons in which the Jaguars have 9 home games. Jacksonville owns global marketing rights in Ireland and the United Kingdom. So, awesome. Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan said, quote, "It is with great pride that we're an NFL city. It means a lot to this community. It's a rallying point for Jacksonville. And while nobody wants to spend a lot of money, the truth is this was a binary choice. We could build the stadium or we could lose our team. And that's not going to happen on my watch. This is something that's incredibly important to Jacksonville." Crazy. And those words, right? That's not just some bland statement from the mayor. She said we could either build the stadium or lose our team. Some big words there. So they are looking at the revamped stadium to lead to more high-profile events such as U.S. soccer matches and concerts. We know that when they brought out their new video boards that have been there for a few years now, Carrie Underwood was there for the unveiling of that. Jaguars owner Shad Khan agreed to take on all construction cost overruns, assume day-to-day operations of the stadium, and take on the majority of game day expenses moving forward. The 63,000-seat open-air stadium includes a translucent covering that's the equivalent of, quote, wearing shades in the sun, is what President Mark Lamping said of the Jaguars. It's going to hopefully lower outside temperatures by 15 degrees, so people sitting in the stadium don't feel like they're under God's magnifying glass, so to speak. The stadium also includes 140% more concourse space, 190 new points of sale, 16 new escalators, 12 new elevators, and 12 new restrooms. So a lot of stuff coming up. We're going to break this down more with Papa Joe tomorrow. Perfect timing, right? Because PJ is in North Florida, and we talk about the Jaguars all the time and what we call On the Prowl here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill studio. So a lot of great stuff coming up. I do want to hit some notes here. So that just happened, so I wanted to make sure I made mention of that. That's why I love doing live radio and video, because stuff happens in the moment. We get to talk about it. So the other note here is that the Jets are going to be visiting the San Francisco 49ers in week 1. Again, because the NFL schedule is coming out tonight, but it's really coming out in spurts. And Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be in San Francisco, hopefully, to start the season. God bless, God willing, up against the San Francisco 49ers. Second straight season that Rodgers and the Jets will play a primetime game in week 1. The Jets debuted on September 11th, and that was a season-ending injury for Aaron Rodgers, where he tore his left Achilles on the 4th snap and missed the whole rest of the season. So this is going to be some Monday Night Love for the New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be on September 9th, and I know some fans of the Jets are going to be shaky during this because September 9th is close to September 11th. Prime time then, prime time now. So I'm like, maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't run out with the flag. Maybe somebody else does, right? But, you know, as long as the flag is well represented and it's not looking exactly the same as what it looked like before with Aaron Rodgers. We know that the Buffalo Bills will play at the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night, September 12th, to open week 2, and that game is going to be on Amazon Prime. So we know some of the things that have already come out here. I'm going to talk with PJ about it tomorrow. There is some other news that's happening here, and John Gruden, in his case that's currently going on here, so we look at this. Nevada court orders the John Gruden case to go to NFL arbitration. 3-judge panel of Nevada's Supreme Court on yesterday, sided with the NFL against former Las Vegas Raiders head coach John Gruden, saying that he was subject to arbitration even as a former employee and thus ineligible to sue the league over his 2021 termination. Justices Elisa F. Kaddish and Christina Pickering reversed a district court's order that denied the NFL's motion to force Gruden's complaint into its arbitration process. The case was remanded to the lower court with an order to grant the arbitration motion. Justice Linda Marie Bell disagreed with the majority's interpretation of the arbitration clause in the NFL Constitution, siding with Gruden's attorneys who argued that it does not apply to former employees. Quote, I disagree with their conclusion because the facts of this case do not support survival of the clause past the end of Gruden's employment, end quote, said Bell. And Gruden's lawsuit accuses the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell of, quote unquote, directly leaking, end quote, racist and misogynistic emails in an attempt to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out as coach of the Raiders in October of 2021. Gruden filed the lawsuit in November of 2021, weeks after resigning under pressure when some of his emails from more than a decade earlier were published by the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. The emails had surfaced in the league's investigation of then Washington Commanders owner Daniel Snyder. Gruden told ESPN last year that the league, quote, thought they could cherry pick emails from years ago when I wasn't even a coach and try to end my career, end quote. At that time, league spokesperson of the NFL, Brian McCarthy, told ESPN that, quote, neither the NFL nor the commissioner leaked Coach Gruden's offensive emails, end quote. The NFL's argued for courts to toss out Gruden's claim, saying a clause in his contract with the Raiders required him to file his claim through league arbitration. Gruden's attorney, Adam Hosmer-Henner, argued that arbitration, a process that is controlled by the NFL and where any discovery would not be made public, would be unfair to his client because Gruden is no longer a league employee. I can understand that. A process, if you look at arbitration controlled by the NFL, if you have something against the NFL and you put it in against the NFL and the NFL has say over the arbitration, I mean, that doesn't really make sense, right? So you bring up a case against the league and the league has control over what you just brought up. I mean, then wouldn't they just throw it out? I mean, from the brass tacks of what I'm looking at. So it says, quote, the panel split decision would leave Nevada an outlier where an employer can unilaterally determine whether an employee's dispute must go to arbitration and also allow the employer to adjudicate the dispute as the arbitrator, end quote, Hosmer-Henner said. Attorney Canon Shanmugam, representing the NFL, declined to comment on the ruling. So there is an ongoing thing in the John Gruden case against the NFL, in case you were wondering, and also happening. Falcons have Kirk Cousins on a 4-year, $180 million deal that's worth at least, bare minimum, the guaranteed $100 million, and they drafted Michael Penix 8 overall out of Washington. So Kirk Cousins says that he doesn't believe it's constructive to have hard feelings with his new team over their first-round pick, who is Michael Penix Jr. As I mentioned, Cousins' agent Mike McCartney told ESPN's Pete Thamel at the time that there was confusion and frustration coming from Cousins' camp because the Falcons acquired his successor before he even put on an Atlanta helmet, and that the team didn't do anything with its top pick to improve for 2024. Cousins spoke for the first time about the situation, and he said, quote, I don't think it's helpful. We're trying to win a Super Bowl, and it's hard enough. It's hard enough. He said that twice. Let's all be on the same page and try and go win a Super Bowl, end quote. Now, Cousins was asked if he would have signed with the Falcons had he known their draft plans. He said, quote, I don't really deal in hypotheticals. We could go down that path for a long time in a lot of ways. It just doesn't do us any good. So I'm excited for this opportunity I have. I think it's a real privilege to be a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm trying to make good on the opportunity given me with the way I work each day and the way we play this fall, end quote. He's 35 years old, and he said he was golfing on draft night when he played for the Vikings. So I said 3 years ago that he was golfing on draft night when he played for the Vikings. So, we shall see what we shall see here. If it's truly an open competition or if this is a succession plan that's just happening years early. Speaking of quarterbacks and speaking of money, Jared Goff made bank. We're looking at Jared Goff's extension. 4-year, $212 million. Folks, you thought Patty Mahomes' $50 million a year was the highest in the NFL. It is not. Even though Pat Mahomes has aided his team in winning 3 Super Bowls in a very short amount of time in the NFL, he's not the highest paid quarterback. He's not even the second highest paid quarterback annually. The Detroit Lions' Jared Goff is getting a 4-year, $212 million extension that includes $170 million in guaranteed money. He's now the highest paid player in Detroit Lions franchise history. Should have been Barry Sanders. I think that would be easy to say. But back in Barry's days, the money wasn't as insane as it is right now. The $53 million average annual salary for Jared Goff makes him the second highest paid quarterback behind Cincinnati Bengals' new contract extension for Joe Burrow, which gets him $55 million. I would like to make note that Joe Burrow is the highest paid quarterback annually in the NFL and has not won a Super Bowl. Jared Goff is the second highest paid quarterback annually in the NFL and has not won a Super Bowl. And behind both of them, Pat Mahomes, who has won 3 Super Bowls, is making less money. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But they believe in Jared Goff. They're riding with Goff till the wheels fall off. Ooh, like that one. Little Dr. Seuss nursery rhyme for the kids this morning. So that's some NFL news, and that's what's going on in the NFL. Tomorrow, after tonight, when the schedule is released, if it doesn't come out before then, we're going to talk about the NFL schedule, Papa Joe, tomorrow. We will address the international games. We'll address some of the marquee games, and we will address the entire Jaguars schedule, as well as the Jaguars' $1.4 billion plan to revamp their stadium and remain in Jacksonville on what looks to be a 30-year lease, meaning that the city of Jacksonville, Florida, will have the Jaguars franchise for at least the next 3 decades after coming into existence in 1995. They're not even 30 years old yet. They become 30 years old in 2025. So before their 30-year anniversary, looking to sign a new 30-year extension. So that means that the Jaguars will be in Jacksonville for 60 years, at least 6 decades. That's saying a lot, because we look at it right now and we say, okay, if they sign this lease, and we're in 2024 right now, the 30-year anniversary is in 2025. So if they sign this lease, that means that around the time of 2054, 2055, they will still be in Jacksonville. So am I surprised? No. Am I happy that they're getting some revamps to the stadium? Yes, I am. I definitely am. So, I mean, I've been around that stadium for 13 years for the most part, going on 14, God willing. So I'm excited to see. So of their 20 plus years of existence, I've been there more than half of the time that they've existed as a franchise, which is a true blessing from God, going back to 2010 and Jerry O'Neal and him making a phone call, which I'll never forget, and I appreciate so very much. So with that being said, plenty of stuff to get into tomorrow. A lot of talk on the Jaguars schedule, Jaguars Stadium, international games, which the Jaguars have 2 of, a home and an away, like they did last year. And we'll get into some of the other marquee games. PJ and I got a full slate, and I can't wait to share that conversation with you. You, of course, are with us, as you know, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they jump to the archive, and you can hang out with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And we appreciate everyone who has. Make sure to subscribe and follow once you find us on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss a broadcast again as we continue to add to the library of over 1,600 episodes. You can visit all of our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, and I would like to thank each and every single one of them. Of course, our exclusive studio partner, Heritage Hill Brewhouse out in Sweet Road in Pompey, and Heritage Hill North out at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York. Big time thanks to our longest standing partner, Carvel DeWitt. You can go today to get a DT Dolphin My Sunday dedicated to the LeMoyne College Dolphins and our community of Central and Upstate New York. You can get that buy one, get one every Wednesday, including today. So go get your buy one, get one Dolphin and get ready to celebrate graduation with some awesome flavors. The DT Dolphin, mint chocolate chip ice cream, of course, green for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream, and a cherry with green and gold sprinkles and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream only at Carvel DeWitt. No other Carvel has this Sunday. Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is what happy tastes like, and it's right down the road from LeMoyne. The Wildcat Sports Pub, we will be tonight. We'll be there with West Genesee Softball. We were with them last year, and we'll be with them this year. And that'll be happening tonight, Wednesday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. We will be on site, on location at the Wildcat Sports Pub. Very excited for that. We'll be with head coach John Bubb and student athletes on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, in the Home Depot Plaza. Come out and see the West Genesee Wildcats softball team. Grab some dinner, grab some drinks. Of course, if you're going to have an alcoholic beverage of age and drink responsibly, we'll be out at the Wildcat tonight celebrating and spotlighting West Genesee Wildcats softball. We look forward to seeing you there tonight, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. on stage. GG Cards and Breaks, Avocolis, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the snack capital of the world. Of course, Pizza Man, as well as Great Lakes Honda City and Mother's Cupboard, where you can get my exclusive breakfast sandwich 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. Go and get the Cuse McMother, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and eat it like a sandwich. Pick it up, or cut it up and eat it with syrup. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich and dip it in some syrup right there at Mother's Cupboard, exclusively the Cuse McMother breakfast sandwich. You don't want to miss out on that. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your LeMoyne College Dolphins. You will find your Dolphins every single Wednesday, like today, in Dolphin time at 9 a.m. Eastern time, hanging out with your Dolphins. And, of course, we have AD and DT coming to you the first and third Wednesday, typically of each month, with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. And, of course, the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as future Dolphins and alumni. Find all our content with the Dolphins by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And, of course, making sure you hit the notification bell, and also check out our LeMoyne playlist on our YouTube channel. You can find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. Fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Find the Bobcats every single month in what we call the Bobcat Buzz, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the years. And we are so proud to put a spotlight on such a unique opportunity that you have as a student athlete and a student at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, featuring 2 campuses, James Street in Syracuse and right off of Route 57 in Liverpool, across the street from Avocolis. The Bobcat Buzz can be found on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. You also find our BSC Syracuse playlist on our YouTube channel. The Bobcats are on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. Binghamton and University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. You will find the Bearcats weekly during Bearcat Time, which happens Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, featuring monthly specials entitled Moments with Marshall, which features Athletics Director of Binghamton University, Gene Marshall, and the Bearcat Break Room, bringing you student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories of Binghamton University, why Binghamton, and what they've taken away from being there in the classroom, as well as on the fields, courts, pools, and more and tracks of life. Much thanks and much appreciation to Gene Marshall, to everyone at Binghamton University in the athletic department, in the athletic communications department. I want to thank John and David, and of course, I want to thank the student athletes and the coaches and all of the support staff, as well as all of the families and the community itself in the southern tier of the great state of New York. Bearcat Break Room and Moments with Marshall. You can find all this content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll also find the Binghamton University playlist on our YouTube channel. You can find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab for Binghamton University, right there on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of today's show. I want to give a big shout out to Ma and Pa's telling us what's popping. Big time thanks to Adam Zakowski of LeMoyne College, the men's and women's swimming and diving head coach, joining us here coming off of his coach's workshop with the United States Marine Corps. And I would like to thank Arizona Officer Selection Officer of the United States Marine Corps, Captain Juarez, for joining us this morning as well to tell the story of the Marine Corps and the connection to Adam and LeMoyne and sports, and looking for those student athletes in the sports world to potentially become our future United States Marines. So many thanks to Captain Juarez as well as Adam Zakowski for an unforgettable conversation. And I look forward to more. And a God bless to all the positive words and everything from them. And a God bless in heaven to Captain Juarez's Aunt Sue. And I know she's watching over very proudly. Shout out to Caitlin Clark and the WNBA getting back into it. Regular season officially starting this week. So some teams been in action, some will be in action. And a shout out to the WNBA expanding to Golden State in San Francisco, California with the Golden State Valkyries. And that happening in 2025 and in 2026, Toronto getting a WNBA franchise as well. Big time shout out to the NFL news. Plenty coming up tomorrow with Papa Joe, and we're going to have so much in the world of the Jacksonville Jaguars, so make sure you tune in as we go on the prowl from the Heritage Hill Studios. This is Wake Up Call. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Have a beautiful day. And as always, God bless, no stress, do your best.